And we're back in the room once again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once more to the Caiman Show. Now, joining me today, I have a record producer, a singer, a multiple musician, and an activist. Give it up for my friend, now yours as well, Fabrizio Grossi. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you in LA there?
I'm okay, thank you. How you doing? We're melting here. How about you guys?
It's pretty hot over here at the moment, but it's kind of how I like it at the moment. It's it's sunny. We're still walking around in jeans and a t-shirt. It's not sunning us down or anything just yet.
Well, perfect. Well, you see me like this is my new enclosure, my new my new eyes. It just goes, the heat. It's crazy, and it's causing the internet service in some of the distribution blocks out in the streets to kind of like have a physical and mental meltdown. So I had to get out of the house because we didn't have any connection. So I'm outside in my car, close to a hotspot, so we can have this
fantastic. Well, hey, respect to you, Fab. Thank you so much for still coming on. A lot of people would have got out of the kitchen when they got the heat. Pardon the pun, but you're still here in all your glory. So welcome. It's great to have you.
Well, as few will say, I'm not other people.
Hey, good man, and I'm glad to hear it. Screw those other people, right?
Exactly.
So how's things been over there? Obviously, we've been through an eventful year and a half with lockdown and everything. How have things been? Have you managed to use it to your advantage at all, as some people have? Or have you just been on shutdown? What's been going on?
No, I mean, there's been a lot of music being made. Unfortunately, I would say, I always try to look at the positive things in everything that happens. Yeah, that allowed me to do a bunch of different things, for sure. I was able to finish my first solo record. We were able to complete the new Supersonic Blues Machine record. I started getting involved in video productions and all of that. I used to back like 15, 20 years ago, but kind of like more like on the business end and, kind of, I guess, suggestion or storyboard preparing, not really on the editing board or as a director. But now I just have a new company here in Los Angeles that does that, and we're having a lot of fun. And then everything else that comes along with it, as you can say, or you can see, we had a quite turbulent year in the United States. Even though we already halfway through 2021, I'm mainly referring now to the pandemic here, 2020. And it's been a crazy year. There's been a lot of different things that kind of like got me busy on my other front. I'm always being very active. I wouldn't say necessarily politically, even though there is a lot of things that has to do with politics, but more like on, I work with a bunch of different charities, one that helps with the homeless situations here in the States, especially in the city of Los Angeles. Another one is Guitar for Vets, that helps with music lessons and gear donations and gatherings of the veterans that are affected by post-traumatic stress disorder. And that doesn't mean, because a lot of people see that, it's just like, wow, but you like do this, and that, and how come you're getting involved with the military? And it's like a kind of like a contradiction where you're standing from. No, absolutely not, because I'm not advocating militaries, meaning I'm in support of all people, because that made, I would say, not necessarily a sacrifice, but a commitment to a cause. In this case, was the defense or to work for their country, and they got majorly abused. And on top of it, are not really the consequences of a lot of their tours or services are kind of like are not really taken seriously. Post-traumatic stress disorder, it's a really hard condition, not only for military. There's a lot of people that are getting affected with that. There's a lot of things in life, and from people coming from all walk of life, that sometimes have to deal with that, and it's a serious thing. And I'm glad to see that he's bringing a lot of reliefs, and that gives me the opportunity to talk more about the implementation of our military. Like I said, I'm not against our military. Actually, quite the opposite. I'm against our military apparatus and all the bribes and all the money and the waste that goes with that, but that's a different story, you know.
That's the puppet masters.
Exactly. And So basically we had those two things, and then obviously, as you heard, from like it's a year already went by, from George Floyd and all the Black Lives Matter movement, and the summer protest, and then the semi-insurrections on January. So I would say the powers that be in our country kind of like kept us very, very, very busy during last year. So, but you know what? In one way, it's good for the human on the human end. And on the other hand, I think it's also good for the music too, because especially when it comes down to my solo stuff, there is a lot of these things. I mean, actually, there's not really silly topics in the record. Everything has a purpose, and it's probably my most political, motivated, not driven record. I, even like with my other band, with Supersonic Blues Machine, I don't really change thematics. My main always biggest inspiration when it comes down to that have always been Bob Marley first, and then John
classic.
Lennon, and Dylan and all of that. It's with Supersonic, it's a very apolitical situation. We even with all, because again, of course, it's myself, but it's Kenny Aronoff and Chris Barris and all our friends, the Simons and all the guests that are coming in. So I cannot really take like either a political stand or something socially can kind of like not necessarily awkward, but that goes a little bit beyond my own personality or my own call to make. So when we talk about these kind of things or world things or even politics during our trips with Supersonic, we talk about problems and we're suggesting solutions and our point of view. It's never like a partisan thing. So I don't think Supersonic is a good platform for me to talk specific things more with a political tone. But actually, we still talk about the same things, in terms of like, we need more love in the world. We need more forgiveness with more understanding. Kind of like, I would say, more like of a brother positive message. It's always that way with Supersonic. However, when Soul Garage Experience now, it's presenting itself as a reality. Well, now that's given me a totally different platform because at the end of the day, it's my solo project, but that doesn't mean that I play everything, that I do everything myself. I have a great roster of musicians participating, and also that are part of my band, my solo band. Even again with a rotation of art, but it's just a community. It's more like of a review, almost like as a show where everybody comes in and does his own thing, and then obviously there's a bunch of things that we do together. But that's kind of like my voice, so I can feel a little bit more free of being very outspoken about things that bothers me, or things that I don't know. I think they're really important to be talked about it. And I know that I'm pissing a bunch of people off doing this, but hey, as Gene Simmons used to say, it doesn't matter how they talk about you, good or bad, as long as they talk. And I think starting off a conversation, whether you're coming from one side or the other side of the spectrum, or any other side of the spectrum, I think that we're living in times where there's the lack of communication of people. Everybody's just trying to make their point, but they don't want to listen to the other ones.
Yeah, there's a distinct lack of people not listening. Yeah.
Yeah, and also I think there is like this kind of like sensationalism of news and world events that are being adopted by media in general to make us stupid and just to force us in team. Like you're for Chelsea and I'm from West End, and we need to butt heads because we're on to for me it goes beyond that. I don't really affiliate with any political party in the United States because I think it's all a joke, because already two parties, I think it's one of the biggest form of obstruction, because that means that the choices are already pre-made for us, whether they get one or the other one.
Yeah,
that means that the power behind, they already decided these two. When you start to have a lot of other choices, I think these kind of choices kind of like slip through the crack of the system, and that's what becomes a problem with the system. And for me, to be honest with you, I'm more fond of these other options because it will give people the opportunity to get together when normally they wouldn't. I have friends on both sides of the aisle and here, and people that do not believe of anything that it's happened politically, but we all talk about the same things, and we all have friends sometimes that they lost a home, they lost a job, that they ended up in getting bankrupt because of medical bills, or they got abuse on any level, from a traffic stop to, a spousal situation. So at the end of the day, this is a reality that affects our world. And I'm just trying to give it in with a little bit more of my edge. I guess this is my moment to, my Tom Morello moment, I would say.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, so lockdown eased out there now, has it a little? Is the mask situation still in over there? Because we still got to wear these. I hate them. They just restrict my breathing and whatever. We still got to wear these masks everywhere. Yeah, it's still the same over there, is it? Yeah.
No. Actually, California opened up on June 15th. So in theory, it's no mask. But there are still some establishments that might require. I personally don't use. I mean, I'm being vaccinated fully since April. I generally don't, but if you're like in small places and there is a lot of people in it, maybe just more like as a respect to people than for me, even though these people shouldn't. We have 50 states, and every state and every governor behaves in a different way and gives different dispositions. This thing is not being federalized, so everyone does pretty much whatever they want. And even within the same city, you have counties that they act in a different way, sometimes in a nonsensical way. So it's very difficult to get these guidelines followed properly. I'm making fun when they're asking here. So it's like, hey, but I understand that there's going to be shows and the other thing, and and you can get around without the mask, but if you're vaccinated, but then we're going back to the politics of it. Governments or even mayors and stuff like that. Some of them are against the actual certification of vaccines for this because it says it's a form of discrimination and all of it. I'll make it very simple. Tell people outside stores and stuff, and friends of mine, this is like, how do you recognize who's being vaccinated or not? Because people that actually anti-vaxxer or people that are coming from a political side of the spectrum here were not wearing the mask to begin with. So it's just like, how's going to stop them to mingle? It's just like, it's very simple. Get outside the store, and whenever people are coming in, just ask them, hey, who won the election? You find out immediately.
There's your answer. Yeah.
So you don't have to enforce the ID checking or anything like that. That's just very, very simple. No, I mean, I'm okay. I'm just joking. But it's getting relaxed. But to be honest with you, there's still a lot of nonsense, regardless in the states where we're in. And there's a lot of states where shows are already happening on I would say semi to larger scale, but then again, with the tweezers, meaning we had a bunch of different offers for this summer, for August and July for festivals. And funny enough, we're getting these requests, and where the promoter wants to announce the show, but then they don't want to send you a contract, and they're not selling tickets of the events. It's like, why are you advertising given the band? I mean, I'm not going to mention exactly what kind of festival, what kind of event, but
go on.
In the same events, there were like artists booked like ZZ Top or Kid Rock or guys like that.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top, who actually it's like the guy that motivated me to start Supersonic, and he's often one of our guests. He was telling, man, I've been talking to my agent. He says that he's working with a scissor on one end, and a pen, a pencil on one end, and an eraser on the other one, because it's very crazy. Because now some counties might allow you to do that. The insurance company from a different state might not ended up in giving the promoter the proper liability coverage for whatever reason. So we have these situations where the promoter wants to promote the event. When there's they're trying to talk about shows and stuff like that, but they are not putting basically they want to be covered, like knowing that you're going to the show, that everything is going to be taken care of, but they don't want to make the commitment with you, then the show's going to happen. So it's a weird thing. So we end up and say, you know what, screw all of you. We'll talk about it, in 2022, and we'll focus. We're going to be doing hopefully some shows here in 2021 with Supersonic. We're working with our agent, but probably more towards the fall, October, November, and also with my solo event. Because like smaller places or venue, that's not really an issue right now, no more. Hopefully, and it stays that way. But the bigger festivals are the ones that are still And that I don't understand. Like I was talking to a dear friend of mine who was an agent in the UK just like exactly like a week ago, and she was telling me that even you guys like had like 4 or 5 big festival canceled. The
Yeah,
summer you got to the opening completely reschedule of almost a month, and a lot of other uncertainties. And it's just really really annoying, because then you got here we have the phenomenon of the mega churches. I don't have a problem with people going to church, but how come people can congregate in 90,000 people together in one stadium in a room? We have the final, it's like a sports against two, but then when it comes down to music we cannot do that.
that's it.
I mean, that really,
There's absolutely no difference whatsoever, is there? The same, potentially the same vibes are being passed around, the same bugs are being passed around, the same germs are being passed around. It's just
exactly.
for some reason, certain people, certain boxes are ticked for certain cultures and whatnot, and music, unfortunately, for some reason, isn't one of them, which is very unfair.
Yeah. And it really pisses me off, because they keep on talking about here the freedom, infringements on freedoms, and freedom of speech and congregation and religious rights and all of that. But I'm kind of like, well, but isn't that your rights and when my rights start? So I mean, I understand that it's up to everybody. I mean, it's supposed to be your own decision, either to wear a mask or be vaccinated and all of that. But I'm going in a place where everybody's open. I mean, basically, they don't wear a mask because they do not believe in a mask to begin with. And we have like 60, 70, 90,000 people. These are like mega churches in the South, in Texas especially. And then we can now have like 4,000 people together in the same place, watching a show. And actually, they give the same. They did NASCAR, same thing, reunion from NASCAR. There was like 120,000 people gathered. Now you telling me Daytona Beach motorcycle gathering, 80,000 people. Okay, so can you tell me what difference makes between that and again a church event or a concert? I mean, there's not. So these kind of things are really.
That's not an easy question to answer, because there is no answer to that question. There's no difference whatsoever. Infection is either with people or it's not, wherever they are, wherever they go. Whether they go into church, whether they go into, I don't know, the local pub, the local bar, or whether they go into a concert or an event. There's each individual there in those 3 different sets of circumstances is subjected to the same risk. So do the math.
So it's really not so. And unfortunately, this thing has been affecting a lot of friends and colleagues and musicians, because a lot of them completely lost their marbles. In the beginning of the pandemic, I was able to bring home part of my gear so I could continue to record and do some stuff. And then back in June, when I was able to go back to the studio, we ended up in having a lot of other lockdown mandates. But the one that started in March last year, the first one, that was like, we couldn't even go anywhere. I mean, especially in California, I couldn't even go to the studio, even if the studio was there alone.
Literally subjected to 4 walls and a roof 24/7.
Exactly. So we had that thing going on, but at least I had some gear at home. It helped me to finish up some other music and continue the thing, the other work with Supersonic. And now, I mean, of course, I can go to the studio. So that didn't stop. But obviously, everybody was really looking forward to go back on stage and or at least get together with other people, which is the basic of actually the type of music that we like. If you do not have interaction with other musicians, it's kind of like pretty lame, I guess. I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong. I love to work in the studio. I love to write and prepare and do all my own stuff. And I do that alone. I love to mix and all of it. But then there is the element which is like the actual performance and the jamming and all of it that, you need to have other people there. You cannot do that.
Definitely, man. Yeah. I've been in bands myself, and when I was doing originals and everything, you get together, don't you? And sometimes you do a little bit on the guitar. I've come up with this, and it's like, oh, the bass player. Then, oh yeah, what if I put this in? It's hard to do that when you're not together. It's when you're in a room together, you've got it. It's there. The chemistry is there, and you can bounce off one another. I know a lot of people have been doing things virtually now, which is great, and it's great that we can do that. But there's no substitute to real people getting together and making music, in my opinion.
Oh no, no, absolutely. However, there are a couple of situations in terms of like people became like really, really creative during the pandemic, which I
Yeah.
appreciate. And you know, and again, I even understand the actual the streaming concept and all of it. And actually, I'm collaborating with a new company. With a new music channel, then we're getting a bunch of different artists to do these things. Actually, it's very artist friendly.
Mhm.
They help paying the productions, and so basically the artist is never out of pockets. And actually, they ended up in making a lot of money if they have a
Excellent.
good
Well, that's a
followings.
good
But at
thing.
least,
That's a positive.
well, and that is great, but the requirement is that at least the band are placed together. I these things where you got somebody in one room, somebody's in another room, and another one on the other side of the world is just trying to jump together for somebody else that it's in the, I mean between the latency among the players and everything, it's a little crazy. But at the end of the day, I think this kind of stuff like streaming episodes like I was just mentioning that were involved, I think they're great because they will give you the opportunity not to substitute concerts, but to actually even approach markets and introduce yourself in places where you've never been
Mm.
and where you know that you have fans and people would like to see you performing. But for whatever reason, you haven't gone there yet. Or maybe you're preparing like a new show, a new tour, and you wanted to introduce a couple of new songs and all of it to the public. Maybe you do that in the winter for the shows for the summer so people know what they're getting. I think it's all great. I mean, it helped create a new reality, which I don't think is going to go away. It's going
No,
to be
no.
there. Obviously, nothing beats the feeling of going to a real concert and having interaction and exchanges with the audience and the bands and all of that. But I think the way these things are being created are and handled right now, I think it's a big support and a big help. And to be honest with you, I might be cranky about the whole thing and maybe more nostalgic when it comes to the again with the audience and all of it. But that's because of me and my history, who I'm playing with, who I played with, and my other colleagues, and also my age. You have to consider that majority of teenager and young people in the early 20s, I would say, they grew up with a computer. They grew
Mm.
up with video calls. They grew up with the phones in their hands. And if they didn't grow up with them, they've been dealing with this for at least the last 10 years. So
100%.
I would say the virtual reality of what we're doing right now, for example, for them is less of a big deal. Meaning, yeah, we're playing now, but for Japan, and we're doing it out of our living room. For them, it's like normal. For me, it's
Mm.
like I play
It's
for
like a
Japan. I
stroll
need
in
to
the
go
park for us guys, like,
yeah. But for me, if I have to play for Japan, I wanted to go to Japan because I wanted
Yeah.
to see where it is, what's going on. I mean, this not, but younger people, they've been brought up, in a different kind of like time and different situations and experiences around them. So I think this reality kind of like unlocked a bigger world, I would say, more for them than for
Mm.
us, because we're kind of like already, it's not that we're about to retire, but I mean, we already developed. It's very difficult for us to change the way we see things. I mean, I might adapt, but what I like is what I like. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
not going to
that's
change
it.
that.
You may add it to your repertoire, but not replace it.
Exactly. But and this is good, especially uh, when you consider that you're dealing with a generation. And then again, I got nothing against young artists. I'm always very supportive. In my band, my solo band, there is a lot of young people. I always try to do as much as I can to help young musicians and kind of like, and together with my other older colleagues, because I always, I had a couple of guys in my life that helped me at some points. And I wanted to do the same. And I wish when I started, I had somebody like me that knows as much as I know right
Mm.
now to kind of like help me guide me through. So this is very important. But we have a situation right now and some of the music out there where you have bedrooms heroes that are international rock star, and some of these people have never played even one show.
No, never even
I'm
seen
like,
a
how's
live
that even?
crowd.
Exactly. So I said, well, maybe just starting off like this with a video thing. I mean, at least it gives you the opportunity to kind of like start. And I'm not necessarily, this is all because of fault. I'm not pointing that out to some of these artists, meaning, you don't want it. No, absolutely not.
No,
Because
no,
they grew
it's
up in a
just the
different
cards that
reality.
they've been dealt, isn't it?
Exactly. They've been growing up in a different reality than ours. But I mean, at least maybe I'm embracing at least these kind of platforms would kind of like start to push you towards the performing side of your music career. And well, maybe instead of doing it for 100 people or 10,000 people in front of you, you do it for a camera in front of you that talks to 10,000 people, 100,000, whatever it is, and you're still performing. So I think, and actually, it's even more difficult, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think
on
so.
that
I
sense.
think so.
But then again, I think as long as we keep the music playing, I think that's a good thing.
That's it. I think just do what we can when we can with what we got.
Exactly.
Yeah. So so live gigs in your town or your city, any sign of that coming to life just yet? Or
yeah. There are already some shows happening. I mean, I live in a little, it's in the suburbs of Los Angeles. Up by me, there've been already a couple of like open air shows, and actually we have only 2 clubs up here, believe it or not. And they're gonna start doing some shows starting the middle of next month. Actually, the middle of this month.
Oh yeah, we're in July now, aren't we? Yeah, we're in July today.
Exactly. And so I'm really looking forward to that. As far as Los Angeles, things are been moving a bit, but I can sense that there's still a lot of people that are still very iffy about the
very
overall
iffy,
things,
very jumpy, very weary, perhaps. Yeah.
Kind of like, I don't know, should we do it, should we not, and whatever it is. I think probably less the open airs than the clubs, but let's see. I mean, there's a lot of programs. There are a lot of things being announced, and I really hope, everybody stick to their program and the whole thing goes through, so we can, go back to reality.
That's it. That's ultimately what it's all about, getting back to reality, getting back to normal, Fab, if we can, whatever normal is going to be in the future. We'll never know, But exactly. over here they did Download Festival last week, I believe it was. So they did a trial of that. Everyone had to take a COVID test before they went in. Everyone had to take a COVID test after when they got home, etc. And touch wood, so far, fingers crossed, there's been no negative feedback about that in the news. So early stages, I know, but it looks like it may be working, So it's, perhaps what do you think about these kind of ventures where they put people in, give them a test before they go in and everything, get them all together, and then test them again later? Do you think that could work out there as well or not?
I kind of I got mixed feelings about that. Meaning, I'm really happy that these things are happening. In Spain, They did it already back in May. 5,000 people in Barcelona, and one person was infected because obviously probably carried it. Now, I really would like to know what kind of testing, because see, the thing is that we're going back to the contradictions of what we were saying before. We're coming from, and I understand, and I cut a big break, and I cut some major slack to scientists because they're dealing with something somehow new, I guess. However, if it's that difficult, I mean, how come if I go to get a test now, to get one of those real tests with the swab and blah, 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 I'll go to do the test now, and I won't know the results till tomorrow. My wife just did a casting, production for Disney for a new upcoming movie. There was a bunch of different singers and all that. I'm, not liberty to say, titles or anything like that. However, it was a big Disney production, and some of these big Hollywood productions, they have testing and stuff. So she had to go the day before, 2 days earlier from the session, to get this test in Santa Monica. And the following day, they told her she was negative. And then the following day again, she was allowed to the session.
Yeah.
And I said, well, yeah, you were negative on Monday. How the hell do these people know? What did you do between Monday and Wednesday?
That's it. Yeah, you could have been around a friend's house, 30 people partying or whatever, for all they know. Not that I'm suggesting she was.
No, exactly. But that's exactly where I'm getting. And also, if you took the test in the morning, and that was the most accurate one, and it takes 18 to 24 hours to determine what it is, how come then these people at sometimes on the airlines or at shows or venues, they give you the instant test, the one where the results within an hour?
Yeah, 45 minutes, something like that.
Well, if that was really that accurate, how come we don't do that normally? And we have to go through the things where you have to wait 2 or 3 days because that's the most accurate one.
Mm.
So to be honest with you, if I really wanted to look at it on the safety level, I would like to have that test, the
Yeah,
big one, the
definitely.
one that gives me the guarantee
Yeah.
to be able to do something like this. However, for practicality, the other one works better. Now, those two cannot exist together. In other words, so if you embrace one, you cannot embrace the other because it's just a contradiction. So if you're telling me this is the one that really tells you what it is, well, then why are we doing the other?
Yeah.
No, but the other one is accurate and it's safe. Okay, so if the first one is accurate and safe, why are we still doing the one that takes me 3 days?
If that's the case, one of them is irrelevant.
Exactly. So
should
somebody really need to explain me that, so to be able for me to understand. But the concept of having people screen before going to a concert and then monitor afterwards, I'm not absolutely against. Actually, I'm all pro for it. The only thing is, like, I think there again, there is the contradiction of the delivery method of the testing, that it's that really, I don't know, it sounds very, it's just weird. Like, today we're going this way, and today and tomorrow we're going the other way. I think, to be honest with you, it should be on a vaccine point level. If you're vaccine, you're coming in. If you're not vaccine, I'm sorry, we cannot take the risk. That's it. Very simple. Nobody's forcing you to take a vaccine. But if you want to come in here, this is a private entity. We can decide who we're letting in or not, and not based on the fact that you're, a Buddhist or Christian or a Jew or you're black or white. No, it's just a medical situation, dude. If you have a freaking flu, we wouldn't let you in, wouldn't you? Wouldn't we? No. And well, it's the same thing. I mean, if you're coming in and you're a leper, I'm telling you, they won't let you in. Well, what's the difference here? So that I think it would be the best bet.
Yeah, safety first. If you're safe, come in and join us. If you're not, 100%, ciao for now.
Yeah, but and again, I said I'm pointing the fingers at people that don't get vaccine, but something's got to give. I'm sorry, there's a reason why we're doing it, not only for our protection, but because I wanted to be able to travel. I want to be able to go out, and especially I want to be able to hang with my other friends and even elderly people without compromising them. That's the reason why I'm getting the vaccine. If I'm planning to live up on the mountain, who gives a shit?
Exactly.
I'll do whatever I want.
We're social animals, aren't we? We're social beings. We're social animals. We need to be around other people. Life over the last year and a half just changed dramatically, pretty much overnight. And I, for one, just want to get back to normal. I want to go out. I want to do gigs. I want to see people. I'm making a comeback into the wrestling ring. I need to be safe to do all that. So let's just get it right. Get everyone singing from the same hymn sheet, and take steps to get where we need to go.
Absolutely. So, like I said, I really don't know how they're going to handle these things here in the States, since everybody's arguing. But I really hope that they're going to handle it and we can go back to play. That's all I care.
Fingers and toes, my friend. Fingers and toes. So, in terms of live gigs for yourself, then, you've not booked anything yet, have you? Or have you booked some in for 2022? And, of course, are you coming over to the UK anytime?
Yes, actually, there's already some stuff that's already been booked. But again, I cannot announce it because it's going to be all together with the record. So I would be spoiling the surprise.
That's okay.
But
no worries.
And this is mainly with Supersonic. When it comes down to Soul Garage Experience, I'm working. I work with the same agents that, actually in the UK. Neil O'Brien, that is helping us out. He embraced the cause as well.
Excellent.
So he's putting a few things together, and same thing here in the States. Actually, we're actually getting ready to start a residency here in Los Angeles. We're building something back in the old days. There was a situation. I call it situation because I would not know how else to call it. In Los Angeles in the late 90s. I moved here in 96 from New York. And there's a famous club in LA called the Baked Potato. It's a very small club, so like 135 people capacity and stuff. And for the majorities, I would say, is a jazz environment, jazz fusions and all of that.
Yeah.
In the 90s, in the 80s and all of that, that place saw the best possible musicians on the planet and part of the LA session circuit, participating, doing their own night gigs and all of it, right? So in this place on the Tuesday, there was like a gathering of musicians called the Screaming Cocktail, and it was like a jam night. So basically there was a house band and everybody, came in and, jamming, and that's where I met majority of all my friends and peers and colleagues. I mean, you walk in one night and you would just like, they call you out, you jamming, and all of a sudden Slash comes in and he joins the band.
Amazing.
And it was just like a big community, and we're really feeling that it's like what's missing. So since Soul Garage Experience, it's not only the name of my solo band or the actual band itself, but it's also name of my label and my new production company. That it's a very, I would say, a very hip hop concept, but meaning we're bringing the circus to town. So we have a couple of artists that are playing with me. I don't consider them just like my side musicians, but they're artists. So
yeah,
during the show, they have time to do their own thing, and we back them up. And we were recreating these things. And actually, yesterday we met with a bunch of other friends of ours, and we're finalizing this. Hopefully, by the late August, September, we can start these activities. I wouldn't say necessarily on a weekly basis, but at least like once or twice every 3 weeks or so, where we can have a whole night where you can come and listen to Soul Garage Experience songs and all my friends, but also to hear the stories of everyone that is playing with us that night, and they're gonna bring their own band and stuff. So it's gonna be like a whole nighter of music. And if you come around and you have a guitar or bass or whatever it is, and everybody else wants you to jump in, come in, join,
Jam
that
out.
kind of stuff. Yeah, and that, to be honest with you, for me in town, it's probably the best way to play than not trying to put together concert per se and all of it. It's good when we do it out of town. Here, I think we need to kind of like strengthen our music communities and basically getting in touch and see again all these musicians and friends that we have lost touch for the last year and a half, almost two, because we all know each other and everything, but because of the lockdown or the normal traveling that sometimes you have as a musician, you're never in the same place at the same time. And you always say hi to each other through a third party. Doing it like this is like, come on, let's get together. Let's have a good time. And, just, play the music that we like. Implementing some new technology and new stuff. I'm just bringing video element and other visual arts. I'm very, very into that recently. So I wanted to kind of like, again, bring a hippie approach to an hip hop style of things, play the rock and blues, soul and jammy Americana rootsy music that I always loved.
Excellent, man. Excellent. Well, may it come sooner rather than later. Let's get things going. Let's get things moving again. I keep talking about that normality, whatever it is, wherever it is what we all want. So at present, what projects are you working on at present then? So,
well, I just released a new single for Soul Garage Experience called.
What's it called? Where can we get it?
Ain't No Giving Up. You can obviously on Spotify, on all the other platforms, iTunes, you can download it, all of that. We have a great video on YouTube. It's on my channel.
Yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah,
official, and you can watch it. Please, guys, like, comments, and all of that. And obviously, again, on all the platforms, streaming platforms, you can download it. This is an extract. It's the third extract from the upcoming record called Counterfeited Solstice, who's going to be released on September 10th. We're going to have another song coming out on that day.
Excellent.
And so if people want to get their hands on a solid record or on a vinyl, you know the drill. Either my site or Amazon's obviously is probably the safest bet. There are several selected stores throughout the world that will carry that. We have CDs and vinyls, but I decided to be this record to be the first one released by my own record company. I turned down a bunch of regular record company for this because for once I wanted to have the decision making and of the timing of when I'm doing things. I don't want to be always like months and months and months and months of preparations. I mean, don't get me wrong, you still need preparations and leadway to things, but sometimes, with a label, you have to take a number and wait for everybody else to release that were ahead of you, and then something else changes in the priority and move of this and move of that. To be honest with you, I think that's an old thinking. I understand it, unfortunately, I'm not saying that sometimes the labels do that with the bad spirit. That's the reality that they have to deal with. They have 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 artists, and everybody's got a record. So I understand they have to distribute it and all of that. But to be honest with you, at my age, can I say I don't give a shit?
You can say whatever the hell you want, man.
Okay, cool. So I don't give a shit, and I can care less about what everybody else is doing. We have a record. We want to be heard, and a lot of things are reality. The things that are happening right now, I don't think release a record like we're releasing, especially a song like "Ain't No Giving Up." And I'm sure that it would be relevant. I mean, it was probably relevant in the 70s as much as it is today, but there's a reason why this song and right now, and I want to enjoy that moment and have that thinking and the lyric, the lyric content and the music associated to what's going on exactly in the time when it's happening. That's something that unfortunately, I mean, the technology of today, I mean, if I'm finishing a song and I'm able to post it within 24 hours, why do I have to wait 9 months or 12 months before I get it out of the public? I probably already changed style of music or even taste in things, you know, in a year. So you want to get the best of me now? Well, then listen to what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
I mean, then again, of course, you have your own fans, and I'm still listening now. And for the majority, I'm still listening to old records. It's not, I mean, again, I'm listening to new stuff too. But then that music becomes, I would say, part of who you are and your own repertoires, and you're getting affectionate to specific songs or specific lyrics. But that becomes reality after you made a real fan. If you're just trying to introduce yourself to a variety of people and potential fan, you need to be fresh, you need to be quick, and you need to be contemporary on that sense. And that's what we're trying to do. So I have all the love and the most respect for all the labels that I'm working with and that I'm associated with my other projects and all that. So this is not a way to rain shit on their parade. It's just that this is my things, and it's my time and it's my work. And, you know, as my friends, we wanted to do things our way for once and see what happens, you know.
That's the way, yeah. Live in the now and strike while the iron's hot sort of thing, yeah?
Exactly. So there's going to be a bunch of different activities going on this summer about in regards of this song and in regards of the record, and so that's a big part of my time. You know, it took a long time because again, it's one way. It's a good thing for me to be able to make the decision and being in charge of all this stuff. But you know, majority of the work, since you know, I wrote the whole record minus maybe a couple of songs where I have a couple of collaborators, or co-writer. The whole thing is mine. So I had to prepare the pre-production, produce it, record it, mix it, put together, and all the other work that we're doing with the label and the publicist and all of that. It's a lot of work, but I guess, you know, we're doing this because we like it, not because of only the economical factor. Because if it was from the economical factor, I would probably be working with you know, a drug company or, you know, a big oil situation. Well, not really considering the way I'm thinking, but you know what I mean? I would have probably got a corporate job or anything like that if it was just like on the economical front. But this is like, it's going to keep us very, very busy during the summer. Then obviously we have a lot of video project that I'm doing with my new outfit, video clips for a lot of other artists, but also live performances that we're going to be capturing not only for streaming, but also for further releases, like in terms of DVD or Blu-rays for a bunch of other artists. And then we're also working on the preparation of the release of the new Supersonic Blues Machine. As you probably know, our frontman is, you know, is a fellow Brit, you know, he's from Devon. So it's
lovely part of the world.
I know that's I've been told that's where fish and chips is from, and
absolutely, man, yeah, quality, okay. Right by the coast.
Exactly. So, you know, it's you know, it's a beautiful thing. I'm a big fan of that. But you know, Chris is gonna be coming here soon, and we're gonna be working on some other videos and some other stuff to be combined with the release, and getting ready for some live performances. So we're just basically trying to do as much as we can right now of the work that needs to be done for both projects, my solo and Supersonic, for the work that needs to be done behind the curtains, because I guess once the circus opens up, it's going to be crazy, especially next year. It's going to be a clusterfuck of events.
Oh, totally. Bro, it's going to be absolutely fucking nuts. It is. Everyone's going to want it. Everyone's pined for this for so long now. Like you say, nearly 2 years now. And it's just going to be, come on, give me some. And it's going to be nuts. Absolutely nuts. But I can't wait.
Exactly. I mean, I hope that that's going to be our problem.
Definitely, man. It's going to be awesome. Hopefully we're all going to be inundated. It's going to be awesome. And yeah, let's get this shitstorm out of the way so we can all get on with our lives and enjoy doing what we do best. Music.
Exactly. So, and once again, for all the followers and people that wanted to check it out, please go to either my page, FabrizioGrossi.com, or soulgarageexperience.com, and you will get all the updates and links and everything, socials and music and videos and everything related to my solo efforts, or supersonicbluesmachine.com, and you will get all the updates and everything else about Supersonic Blues Machine, all the links and music videos and blah, blah, blah. And please comments, likes, follow us, and, you know, and all those good things.
All that jazz. We'll check all the links in the video description here as well. All right. So
beautiful
for people to click on. So happy days. In closing, before I let you wrap up, because I can see you actually melting in a car there at the moment. Are there any other plugs, shout outs, acknowledgements you want to chuck in there, Fab, before we wrap it up?
Yes, that I cannot wait to be back in the UK playing. Believe it or not, I was born in Italy, and I moved to New York in my late teens, and I lived there before moving to Los Angeles. But I had a very extended living experiences in the UK, in London, in my forming years when I was 13 and 14, and that changed my life completely, especially for a couple of shows and a couple of people that I ended up engaging with. That kind of like really cemented my mission of becoming a professional musician. And so I have a very special attachment to your country, to say the least.
That's good, man. Well, welcome.
So, and it's always a reason of happiness and pride, and, you know, coming there and playing and visit. I have a bunch of friends, you know, one of the biggest probably office of our label is there. You know, my agents are there, friends, you know, bandmates too now. So it's just like, you know, another home away from home. So I'm really, really excited. I cannot wait to come to the UK once again and make as much noise as possible. Of course,
that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean that, you know, despite the rest of Europe, quite not. I mean, I love every place where we go. We're friends, so we have a good time. And, you know, I guess that's one of the perks of being a traveling musician. But, you know, again, if I may, there's an episode that happened when I was 14 in the UK, at Castle Donington, one of the shows in 1983, where Whitesnake was headlining and ZZ Top was the top number 3 on the bill. Ronnie James Dio was playing the first concert as Dio, you know, with his original lineup. So that concert was like one thing that, you know, I did not know back then when I was there. I was just excited to be watching a big show in the UK. It was like 100,000 people and all of it. I did not know that was a show that would have been make like history books, you know, like being like one of those classic performances. Well, anyways, between what Whitesnake did during that night performing Ain't No Love in the Heart of the City, I mean, that song really changed my perspective of music, considering what was happening up to that moment in the concert, and ZZ Top. And then 4 years ago, actually, 3 years ago this Sunday, we play in London at the Shepherd Bush Empire.
Yeah.
And that was like a very surreal experience for me, because Shepherd Bush is actually very close to where I used to live when I was in London, when I was a teenager. And I used to go to these clubs and places and meet people and all of it. And I'm going back there. And funny enough, we're playing with Gibbons, that actually was one of the main guys on that, you know, 20 or 30 years earlier, kind of like very fundamental in my kind of like decision making of the music. And having Bernie Marsden, that actually was on stage too, joining us. I mean, I had the president, you know, the president of our UK label. We were like doing some interviews and stuff, and he says, "Hey, Fab, I have Bernie Marsden here, and he has a guitar." He says, I have Bernie Marsden here, and he says, if he can come in and say hi to you guys and everything." And he said that he has a guitar in his car. And I was like, "What are you doing here?" And this is like, "Well, I'm telling you, no, what are you doing here? Go get him in, let him in." So as soon as he came in, it was my first time meeting him. I just gave him a major hug. And
awesome.
It was incredible because we jammed that night. He played, he joined on stage with us. And I have photos of him and Billy talking in a green room and stuff. And my daughter took some of those photos. And I'm hanging by the wall with the big photos of Amy Winehouse on one hand and the Rolling Stones on the other one. These are all people that played in that facility. It was just surreal. That's why for me,
crazy,
it's like,
man. How it all comes full circle, right?
Exactly. And that for me, everybody says like Hollywood is the land of, you know, the opportunities and all of it. But kind of like I seen it all coming together in the UK for whatever reason.
Brilliant, man.
Well, but you know what? A lot of great American musicians. Not that I'm listing myself as one of them, but
you chuck yourself up there, my friend. You chuck yourself up there.
No. I'm talking about real legends. I'm talking about Howlin' Wolves, Hubert Sumling and Muddy Waters and all those people that kind of like come to the UK and deal with the big artists from back then, from the Stones to, Clapton and, and the whole scene over there, and get the British to embrace the American blues and the rootsy rock, to bring it back to the United States and become stars at that point. Because, here we have a lot of great players and stuff, but it's not really the land to come up with something quirky or something new. I mean, it's the place to make it big. But that's why a lot of these musicians look at Hendrix. Hendrix, if it wasn't from the UK, probably, I don't know if it would have turned out to become the Jimi Hendrix that we all know about. So I think that's an experience, and kind of like it gives me a lot of hopes for the future, having gone through that, because this is like, well, that's what all the guys that I like did. So, I guess that was a necessary step, and that I had to take.
Part of the course.
Exactly.
Brilliant, my man. Brilliant. Well, hey, I wish you every success with your music and what you're doing. Guys, if you're watching or listening, don't forget you can get the single Ain't No Giving Up, available on most platforms, video on YouTube as well. We'll chuck a load of your links in the description here as well, good sir, all right, so people can click on and get latest updates and whatnot as well. And I'm going to stop you melting in that car now anyway, all right? I know it's been kind of hot over there. Thank you, Fab, for coming on. I do appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day, my man.
Okay, well, you too. Thank you so much. And thanks for everybody watching and listening to it. And just remember, be kind to each other.
Top man.
Thank
Fab,
you.
everybody.
Have a good one, man.
Thank you for coming on, my brother. You look after yourself and all the very best. Woohoo!
You too. Thank you.